How's it going? I basically wanted to start a new series on my channel, and I decided what better way than icebergs, which have already been done a lot. Um, but this is a different iceberg, okay? This is the internet lore iceberg. And there's basically around 8 parts, although I'm going to be uploading it in I think around 3 parts, um, just because there's like a lot of stuff in there. So this one's going to have parts 1, 2, and 3. The second part's going to have 5 and 6, and I should try to do a third part with 7 and 8, although I might try to combine it into just 2 really big parts, but we'll see like how it ends up working out. I'll most likely do 3 parts, so whatever. I should also note that the iceberg isn't actually done by disturbing content. It's actually done by obscurity. So the ones further down are just lesser known, not necessarily more disturbing, because as you'll see in like the tier 2, it's pretty bad. But anyway, yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. So part 1 is pretty well-known stuff, like super well-known stuff, so I'm just going to skip past most of it. In fact, there's only like 5 or 6 things here that actually require explanation. So just to mention the ones that are really well-known, there's YouTube, Steam, Netflix, Wikipedia, 9gag, Reddit, Herobrine, Slender, PewDiePie, which I don't know why PewDiePie's on there, 10-hour-long videos, Skype, Jeff the Killer, Know Your Meme, Wojak, ASMR, and Siren Head. So those are the ones on tier 1, which is pretty funny. I don't know why 10-hour-long videos is there, and then PewDiePie's like, it's just internet stuff. So yeah, that's why there's Herobrine there. And then Siren Head. I definitely don't have any videos in Siren Head on my YouTube channel. Starting off with the first thing that I figured would need explaining, we have the Momo Challenge. The Momo Challenge was essentially a hoax. It was just a Facebook user named Momo telling kids to self-harm, attack others, even commit suicide, really weird stuff. And it was actually thought to be such a scary phenomenon that parents decided worldwide to just start giving out concerning messages and start telling everybody just to watch out for what your kid's been doing. After a 14-year-old in Indonesia actually killed herself after apparently contacting the Momo user. Apparently, at the height of this in 2019, Kim Kardashian actually gave out like a public message, like hey guys, just don't, what the hell's going on with Momo? Don't interact with her or whatever, So yeah, Kim Kardashian, of all the people I expected to, it's good on her for taking care of real issues. Turns out all that fear was misplaced though, as at the end of the day, police worldwide had essentially reported no cases of this happening, and Momo just turned out to be another internet hoax, so with no real cause for the panic. So, great. Sonic.exe is basically a game creepypasta. There's tons of these out there. I think this was like the spawn of all the clones, so you get like Mario EXE or something else EXE, and it would just basically be like a really weird thing. It's a playable game that follows through a young Sonic fan that receives an old Sonic game and a letter from his friend Kyle. The letter has a warning not to play and even to destroy the game, but Tom throws caution to the wind and sets it up anyway. The game starts out normal, but as the first levels progress, more and more dead animals are seen on the ground before Sonic is seen at the end of the level. From there, it's essentially like a disturbing game creepypasta thing that tries to end, like have a bunch of gore and like weird, like I watch you, I'm God kind of things. And then it ends with Tom apparently like a Sonic plushie that's covered in blood appears next to him, and then the police find him and it's a suicide or something weird like that. I mean, I guess it should be scary, but it's Sonic. It's kind of like not exactly the scariest guy, Squeezy Horror Threads is Squeezy's just a French YouTuber who makes horror vids and creepypastas. So I don't know why. It's like a PewDiePie thing. I kind of like, okay, but yeah, it's all in French. So as far as like depth of content, I'm not really sure because I don't speak French. But it's pretty much just like reading creepypastas and talking about creepy scenarios and stuff like that. So if you're a Pokemon fan, then you'll know. But Lavender Syndrome is basically a theory that the music in Lavender Town of Pokemon Red and Green pushed kids in Japan to commit suicide or to self-harm. What ended up being the case was that some of the first releases in Red and Green used pitches that were too high for adults to hear, so they couldn't really get affected by it. But it was some sort of like a binaural beats that caused some sort of like emotional response. And this is actually a thing, and I can give you a little demo. I'll just play it right now. Make sure you're wearing headphones though, because it's a really low frequency and you're going to want to really feel it. This one's called 4chan equals deep web, and from what I understand, this is just saying that 4chan is seen as like a really weird and a dark spot, dark conversation spot by normies. Since 4chan itself was further down in part 2, I'm going to assume that it just means that 4chan is seen as like a deep web thing for like internet normals. So, I don't know. Ben Drowned is a series of internet posts in which a user talks about Haunted Majora's Mask cartridge. It's like a really long, like there's like, I think there's 4 posts and they're all super long, like mini novels almost. And you can read through them. It's basically just like, so guys, I put in my cartridge and then some really weird shit started going down and now I don't want to play it anymore. And then guys, I'm back for another one. I'm going to try to play it in again. And then they just kind of talk about it. So, I mean, it's a creepypasta. All right, we're on to part 2, and I'm not going to skip anymore because even though there's a lot in this part, and they might be well known, they're still pretty interesting and I want to explain them in detail. Also, from here on up, there is a content warning since a lot of this involves disturbing content. I'm not going to explain or describe anything because that would be wrong. To make it easy on you, the ones that are going to be problematic will have the title in red rather than white, just so you know going into it. And if you're just listening to it, then should be watching it. 1337 is basically just like 2012 gamer talk. Things like noob with zeros instead, or like a 0 instead of the OW in the word no, and stupid shit like that. Cursed images are if you spend any time on social media, I'm sure you've seen. They're basically just like shit posts, usually involving people or things in places you wouldn't expect, or even in borderline disturbing manners. I mean, I can put like 100 up here, but I'm not going to because you get the gist of it. Everyone is different. 4chan is, well, it's 4chan. It's a social media that keeps users anonymous. Most people say it's just the plague, and they would be right. I spent 3 minutes on it, and I got called the N-word, and that wasn't fun. The YNC is a bunch of social medias with the same name that basically just post really disturbing content. To tell you the kind of audience this caters to, their bio on Twitter is literally humor, shocking videos, slaughter, disturbing videos. Yeah, if rape and humor are in the same sentence, you can probably say you're in the wrong place. They haven't posted since 2015, so I'm assuming they either gave up or they realized they couldn't post stuff to current social media and then went somewhere else. Watch People Die is a subreddit that shows videos of pretty much exactly what you think. It's controversial at best and really only shows live leak, road cams, and security cams. It actually got banned by Reddit in 2019 after the New Zealand mosque massacre, which is really strange time, but apparently Reddit determined that it glorified death and violence, which, yeah. At Order Bazaar is a Twitter and Instacant that really just shit posts. They don't post anymore, and it was probably another relic of that early 2010s shock internet phase. Sad Satan is a doozy, and our actual first interesting one. It's basically a shock horror game that has the player walk down a hall with videos and pictures showing up that contain really disturbing things. It also has music playing in reverse, like I Love You Beijing Tedemin, which I guess is a song that I've never heard of, but in reverse it would be, I guess, weird. What's really crazy is that someone who played this game called Obscure Horror Corner responded to concerns about gore and child abuse imagery, stating that his playthroughs were clean and he didn't find any. Apparently that was a lie, as the link to the game that was given was invalid, meaning that they obviously didn't want to have their name attached to it. What's even crazier is that minutes before they made an apology post on the subreddit, a Reddit user posted a link to the game claiming that it worked, and others downloaded it. Many people claimed that their computers began to run slowly and even freeze, and those who made it into the game faced the realization that this version was actually chock full of, I'm gonna call it, should I make up my own name for it? Oh, we'll just go by what most people say is cheese pizza. Someone just took the time to make an even worse version and then upload it, which is horrible. In 2017, one Gary Graves was arrested at his home in Texas for possession of cheese pizza. He ran a YouTube account called Scare Bear, which the police traced back to the Reddit account that made 4 days before the post, with the dirtier version of Sad Satan. Obscure Horror Corner hasn't really posted any videos and the channel is mostly abandoned. The Pirate Bay. It's pretty much a torrent website that lets you do some shady file sharing and stuff. It's kind of like the dark web, but it's not because you can use it on the clean net, and I'm sure nothing unlawful or illegal happens there. So Red Rooms are more so rumored than concrete, but they're essentially live streams on the dark web that show torture of all types to a person who is there. You would pay for these, obviously, and it's all really disturbing for everyone involved. But the people who research these say that it's actually pretty damn hard to live stream on the dark web, and that most times a website claims to be a red room, it'll be a scam. So in reality, most likely red rooms don't really exist. Most likely. Which is troubling. I'm sure that there are videos of people getting tortured out there, just not live streamed. But what is the difference, you know? The red pill, um, taking the red pill is a term that spawned from the movie The Matrix, in which Neo has a choice between two pills, the red pill and the blue pill. The blue pill keeps him in his reality, and the red pill opens his eyes to the truth of the Matrix. And most people use it as a I've been red pilled or like a let me red pill you sort of way. As in, let me tell you how X really works. It's just a meme at this point, but I mean, keep in mind that this is only the second layer. SCP is referring to creepypastas that all describe basically monsters or anomalies that are classified by number. For instance, SCP number 3008 is an infinite IKEA that ever expands and is cataloged by the SCP Foundation, which stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. And I definitely haven't made a video on the infinite IKEA, definitely not. At Einsamistil. It's another old Twitter handle that basically just posts disturbing content, lots of creepy pictures, stuff like that. The actual Twitter account's suspended, but there are lots of clones of it that currently post the same stuff. And if you like horror shit posting, I guess, give it a follow. ISIS executions are just videos of ISIS executing people. They're shooting them or beheading them on camera and then posting it to the internet. While this doesn't really happen that often, the practice was made famous when the late journalist James Foley was kidnapped and beheaded by ISIS after they condemned America for its military engagement. Unlike other videos, the actual beheading wasn't really shown, but the beheaded body was, so yeah. The Hidden Wiki is a deep website that, unlike the ClearNet Wiki, doesn't actually have information. It basically has a number of services that fall under typical dark web content. Things like money laundering, hitman services, cyber attacks, bomb making, and cheese pizza. The earliest mention of this site was in 2007, and in March of 2014, it was hacked and redomained. After November's 2014 Operation Onimus, launched by international law enforcement seeking to target Tor websites and illegal services, many of the Hidden Wiki servers were compromised and taken down. The Deep Web. Wow, Tier 2 and we got the Deep Web. It's about where I'd put it. Deep Web is a well-known part of the internet that's famous for pretty horrible stuff. But in reality, it's mostly used for online banking or pirating movies, etc., stuff like that. The reason it's popular is because you can access sites that would normally have a paywall, and so basically it's really good for pirating stuff, which is what most people do with it. But I mean, the whole point is to illegally access files and can't really be traced, so I'm sure dark web is no stranger to disturbing content, and we've already talked about some stuff, and well, we're not done yet. Blue waffle is one of those things that you never really want to look up, and your friends will tell you to, and you know it's bad, and you do it anyway, and it's bad. It's basically like a fake STI that supposedly turns certain female anatomy blue and pussy. It's really just that. It's an internet joke that's like a really bad make you look kind of thing if you tell your friend to look it up. LiveLeak is a site that it basically shows snuff films, which are just people getting killed, from like factory security stuff, cop body cams, banking security cameras, just like in general, anytime you can find a video of someone dying, it's probably going to be on LiveLeak. LiveLeak actually got shut down in 2021, and then users got redirected to itemfix.com. So it's just basically like a reskin. One Man, One Jar is a video where a guy shoves a glass jar up his back end and he sits on concrete and it breaks. And that's all I'm going to say about that one. WebDriver Torso is another interesting one. An automated YouTube account by the name of WebDriver Torso posted videos ranging from 30 seconds to 25 minutes, about 10 minutes in between uploads. Each video was pretty similar but randomly generated and were basically made up of 1-second slides of two shapes, a red rectangle and a blue rectangle, over a white background. Every second, the slide would change and that would show the shapes in different positions and orientations. Each slide also had a randomly generated computer tone as well. From the 30th of September 2019 to the 31st of October in the same year, WebDriver Torso uploaded a total of 624,774 videos, all with the same slide makeup, except for 3. The first anomaly was called 00014 and is the time-lapse of the Eiffel Tower at night. The second one was a video called RLK85, where the video structure is the same as the shape videos, except that in this one, at some point, the red triangle will become a silhouette of Rick Astley from the Never Gonna Give You Up video. So, yeah. And the final vid is only available to watch in France, and it's basically a re-uploaded episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which I've never seen, and it's dubbed in Spanish. Another weird thing that happened was that at one point the channel owner commented on a video saying Mate is highly intelligent, and Mate hasn't been identified, or no one knows who Mate is. People speculate that the videos are all forms of alien intervention, spy messages, even Cicada 3301 recruitments, and if you didn't know what that was, it's basically a bunch of internet puzzles meant to be beaten, and then the hacker who beat them hired by the maker for, well, we don't know because nobody's beat it. YouTube officially stated that the point of the video is just to test the video quality before and after uploading, so mystery solved. Three Guys, One Hammer is a really sad video that unfortunately is just one of many murders by a trio named, I can't pronounce that, but I will put it on screen. I'm not even going to say their names because they just did such despicable things they don't even deserve the recognition, but all three were eventually caught, tried, and incarcerated. And the video is just a straight up murder of a victim. 48-year-old Sergei Yatsenko was hit multiple times with a hammer, and they basically just mutilated his corpse. It's really just a really messed up video by a trio of sickos that are glorifying death. Blankroom Soup, aka Freaky Soup Guy, is the 2005 YouTube vid featuring a man in a tank top eating soup while crying. And there's like a very tall, doll-looking guy standing next to him, patting his back and reassuring him. It's pretty weird. It goes on for quite a while, and then another man who looks identical to the doll man, you know, they're both wearing the same costume, I guess, walks in and tries to further reassure him. And it's really weird because it looks like they're trying to like pat his back and tell him everything's gonna be okay, and then it makes the soup guy cry even more and like make really disturbed wails. And it spawned a lot of weird theories, ranging from the fact that it's like some very artistic expression to the man who's being forced to eat his wife through soup form. Personally, I think it's just a YouTube shitpost. So, DeviantArt, contrasting the really disturbing thing so far, is really just a social media for art posting. I'm not even sure why it's really not on the first tier, since it's basically just like a website or app. So unless there's really something really nefarious happening on it, it seems like an art community happy place. Rule 34 is it's parody art of popular cartoons with adult themes. It's basically a place to find naughty comics and pictures of beloved cartoon characters in shows, TVs, even games, and that's all I'm going to say. Entering part 3, this is where stuff gets really, really interesting. I'm going to re-stress the disturbing content warning just because there's a lot of stuff in here that's really worrying to think about, or it's really explicitly disturbing. Just be conscious of that as we go forward. The Lost Media Wiki is, from what I can tell, just an online library of rare media. There's unreleased movie cuts, game demos, spaceflight audio, a bunch of really cool stuff. I might even make a few videos on it, honestly, if you guys want. They're just like, there is some NSFW and NSFL stuff, so it's definitely not a clean site, but the intention is simply to archive. It doesn't look like it's glorifying anything, so it seems like it's kind of just a place where people will say, this is like really rare footage or audio, and I want to like put it here so it's archived. And yeah, I get behind that. Official First Contract is a website that's run by an alien, I think. Like literally the user is Sandia, an ET who's here to guide humans through contact with aliens and describe what they do for us. Kind of looks like a website that I'd expect like a 50-year-old mom in Florida to be looking at as she like ties crystals to her ceiling. A funny thing that happened when I was researching this is that I accidentally clicked a YouTube link that they had, and it was basically a podcast where two women talked about like the guardians of knowledge or whatnot, and then my mouse died because I have an electric mouse or a battery powered mouse, and then I needed to like plug it in, but then thing is the port is really small and then I couldn't really fit it in, so I was there for like 3 minutes while they talked about really random shit, and I just wanted it to end. Roko's Basilisk is a thought experiment, but it's also a philosophical question when talking about AI and the possibility of them taking over the world. The premise is that one day AIs will be strong enough to do whatever they want, and they'll also be smart enough to know everything. So what they'll do, according to Roko, is eliminate all humans that don't do their bidding. Since they know everything, they can determine which humans will help them and which won't, possibly even before the humans themselves know. What this would look like is you being brought to the robot's test chamber or whatever, and they would be analyzed with every experience you've ever had to determine if you would do what they say or not. And the worst part is, even if you hypothetically would say that you would help them, you could still be killed if they determined that you would eventually betray them. This is a pretty scary thing for a few reasons, but the main one being that as soon as you hear about Roko's Basilisk, your fate is sealed. This is because now you know what they could hypothetically do, and knowing is a bad thing and automatically puts you on their list. This is, of course, a really reductive way of explaining it, but it is a really complicated process, truth be told, and there's a lot of YouTubers that have already made really comprehensive videos on it, so this is good enough for the iceberg. Capital letters I love you too is an email-based computer virus from 2000 that simply said, I love you, with an attachment titled, Love Letter for You. Upon opening the letter, the email was immediately forwarded to all the victims' contacts and also erased almost all of their JPEGs and MP3s and whatever personal effects they had at the time. Apparently, this was made in the Philippines by a college student named Onel de Guzman, which sounds really ratchet, but keep in mind that this reached like tens of millions of people and is still known as one of the world's largest reaching viruses. So everywhere at the end of time sounds really ominous, but it's pretty sad and genuinely an honest musical. There's basically like 6 albums that are essentially follow the descent into madness from dementia. The first 3 stages are pretty different from the last 3, as the last 3 were made to model the late stage dementia and a lot of white noise was used. An interesting thing to note is that the whole rock opera basically uses this phenomenon known as terminal lucidity, which characterizes patients close to death regaining consciousness to a certain degree. The whole thing is pretty well received, and honestly, it's really bleak, but a very kind way of demonstrating deteriorating mental health. Kekma is in reference to kekma.ga, which is basically a Rick roll for sociopaths, honestly. The link takes you to a major NSFL website that it really just serves to like shock your friends with like a really horrible link opening experience. An example of some of the stuff on this is like there's like a dog and it has skin and then it doesn't, and it's really, really horrible because I have a dog and I love him very much. And there's on top of that, there's like a bunch of really loud noises, and obviously there's more videos like that. And I think something I heard about is that apparently when you open the website, it's actually hard to close the website because when you click the X, there will be like a are you sure you want to leave thing, and that makes it just longer, just to cause more suffering. Yeah, morally evil Rickroll. Liao, I think that's how I said, is actually pretty difficult to find information on, but I think it has something to do with sounding. If you don't know what that is, then you are pure. You're pure. Don't look up what sounding is. Or look it up. I'm not your dad. John. I literally don't know what this is in reference to because it's for the opposite reason as Liao, with Liao having like nothing on it. This one has like, there's like way too much information. If you just put John in a search bar, you're never going to find shit. So without any other precursors, I literally don't know what to look up. And I don't think I could pinpoint what this was in reference to if my life depended on it. So yeah, John. 112 Dirtbag is in reference to Mara Murray's disappearance in 2004. Her street had the number 112 in the name, and her father said that she was probably kidnapped by dirtbags, thus 112 Dirtbag. A YouTube user by the name of 112 Dirtbag uploaded a video of himself laughing in a dark room just before the 8-year anniversary of Mara's disappearance. And while some think this was like a disturbing video made by the killer to mock her death, a lot of people think it was just some kid wanting attention. Probably a League player. Either way, the actual case is really complicated, but the handle 112 Dirtbag solely refers to the street name and the murder, kind of. Child's Play, not the movie. I wish it was the movie. It's not the movie. Is in reference to a cheese pizza dark website that had a really, really weird story. The creators of the website was actually captured by Homeland Security 6 months after the website went up, so thank you. And the Australian government opted to run the website themselves for an additional 11 months afterwards to keep existing users from suspecting anything was wrong. So this included posting images and videos themselves. This obviously came with criticism from the UN, but the Australian police argued that this was to capture users and prevent another site from propping up with no leads. There were many convictions made, fortunately, so it wasn't a complete waste of time, and all the frankly subhuman pieces of shit were given multiple life sentences, which is pretty good. The Edge of the Internet is a creepypasta that I couldn't really find a typed version of, so I basically skimmed through this like half an hour segment. And it's basically just a concept that the internet is really another dimension that is only accessible, not created. So it says like somewhere in the vid that the internet has always been around and it's more of like a dimension than it is a thing, which I guess you could kind of make an argument for because you kind of access it through portals of computers, whatever. Apparently it's also run by multiple gods that we apparently interpreted as like Zeus and whatnot, but they're actually the gods of the internet. and they're coming for humanity. The creepypasta narrator is apparently like a member of this whole organization, and he's basically telling you how to get to the internet edge safely and what not to do and what to do, because if you do the wrong thing at the wrong time, you'll get not existed, I guess. LSD Dream Emulator is a Japanese game that basically has the player have dreams. And the dreams will last about 10 minutes each, and they would have really individual themes and even changing textures on like repeated dreams to seem as varied as possible. It didn't originally get a lot of attention just because it wasn't sold on many sites, but it seems like a pretty interesting game all in all. Sci-Hub is not a robot sex site, it's not, and is instead a Wikipedia of archived research papers and media that would otherwise be unattainable due to paywalls and whatnot. They basically steal, or in their eyes, liberate knowledge by making it free for all. It's a noble cause, that's surely back, although they have been sued twice for copyright, which they lost, obviously, because it literally is copyright. But other than that, nothing really anomalous about them, and I would even recommend it, honestly, if you're doing like a college paper or something. ALMAO, as far as I can tell, it's just like a Tumblr thing where people post like an alien picture, and then they put ALMAO somewhere on the picture, and it's like a meme thing that I'm pretty sure I faintly remember personally, but I don't think anyone does it anymore because it's stupid. 8kun is a social media that is, as far as I can tell, basically used by alt-writers and has had multiple controversies, including but not limited to Cheese Pizza, Gamergate, violent threats, Donald Trump, which I guess, Annan. And I should note that the wiki page for this has the site labeled as part of their series on anti-Semitism. It's like 4chan, but more racist. I didn't think that was possible. Yume Nikki, I think that's how it's pronounced, is a Japanese game by, oh boy, Kikiyama that follows Madotsuki on their quest to find 24 effects. It's pretty interesting from the sound of the gameplay, and a sequel and even manga have spawned from it, so it's influential to say the least. The effects were basically like, from what I understand, superpowers that allowed you to get to the next level, and it's pretty much just like an obscure game. It doesn't really seem to be like weird or disturbing in any way. John Titor was the alias used by a supposed time traveler in the early 2000s to give their spoilers on calamic events that come in the future. In his online postings, Titor claimed to be an American soldier from 2036 based in Tampa, Florida. He was assigned to a government time travel project and sent back to 1975 to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which he said was needed to debug various legacy computer programs in 2036. Titor claimed to be on a stopover in the year 2000 for personal reasons, basically to collect pictures lost in the future because there was a civil war, and he also wanted to visit his family. The most immediate of Titor's predictions were an upcoming civil war in the US having to do with order and rights, and as a result of the war, the United States would split into 5 regions based on various factors and differing military objectives. The Civil War, according to Titor, would end in 2015 with a brief but intense World War III in 2015, so he wasn't exactly spot on. Obviously, he's been debunked multiple times, and well, yeah. Temple OS is basically a biblical-themed operating system that is really just like a worse operating system than Windows, but it did come out in 2015, so we can cut it a little slack. The whole concept was made by Terry Davis, who developed many other open-source systems, and he was diagnosed as bipolar but then declared schizophrenic and remained unemployed his whole life before getting hit by a train in 2018. Really unfortunate, but he did leave some pretty rockin' operating systems. There was one strange occurrence that happened to Temple OS, where they had like a forum online, and for some reason the Temple OS itself announced that God's temple was finished. Now God kills the CIA until it spreads. Just left that there. So that was strange. But the whole thing was basically supposed to be aimed at like an operating system, but like kind of for children, kind of for people. Just you could use it for whatever you wanted. It was open source. It was just really weird thing, but you know, it is what it is. Eratus is a really creepy algorithm that allegedly takes data from people who look it up and then disappears forever. I say alleged because it doesn't really have any grounding, but it is thought by the conspiracy part of the net to be a forbidden word to even look up. Apparently, like if you search it up on Google, which I did, it like takes your data, automatically like stores it somewhere, and then it leaves no traces, which is pretty convenient for the people who are trying to do research on it. This originated from a 4chan post claiming that a woman found a tape gun at a packaging plant that she worked at that was labeled Eratus rather than the department that she worked for. When she asked her coworker about it, they said to throw it away, and that if she ever mentioned it to her boss, she would get canned. If you do want to do further research on this yourself, when you do look it up, it's supposed to be with 2 R's, just spell it with 1, and I guess I was told that that would be enough. Stuxnet is a malicious computer worm that was first uncovered in 2010, and the worm is widely understood to be a cyber weapon built jointly by the United States and Israel in a collaborative effort called the Olympic Games. Unlike most malware, Stuxnet doesn't actually hurt many computers, or even most. A lot of the reason why this is a thing is because Iran reported that this malware was responsible for the decline in progress in their nuclear facilities, and the start of technical issues lined up pretty well with the tracked release of the virus. So basically, like, even though it spreads around the web, it's only really going to hurt computers that it's looking for, and a lot of people have said that it's like a targeted hit on government computers. 973ETH Numa 973 is a website that appears to be a click-through maze. I clicked through it a bit, and it seems to be a bit of like a puzzle thing. And what you'll see when you go into it is basically like kind of like the eye doctor, where it's like a bunch of letters. You'll click the top, and then there's options, and the different options you click will give you different things. And there's also like a part where it's like a bit of a gallery. It's pretty weird, but there's also lots of equations and lots of problems that need to be solved using the equations, and it's a big whole mystery that looks really weird. Not to mention that on the website there's like a wealth of religious art that I can only assume is religious because of the way it's kind of like glorifying the people that are in it, and it's also really modern looking. I did go to the forum, and it does seem to be a bit of a cult because a lot of people who talked about it are like talking really cryptically, and then they're also talking about the creator of the site and glorifying them, and they're praising him, as well as like different beings and deities that they're talking about. It does seem to be like generally religious based. It could all be roleplay though, which would be sad. It's a cool site to click through if you're bored. I'll link it below. Green pill is I can't even believe that it's like a meme. Okay, I mean, green pill, red pill, I can't even believe it's on the same tier as the fucking dark web CP shit. Makes me think this thing was written by a Reddit. Green pill is basically the red pill, but like further. So as the red pill awakens you to the truth of life and the matrix and whatnot, the green pill is said to do the same thing, but more. 1444, I think, is a reference to the year for... No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. I was like looking up a picture for this, like editing, and it's like just basically a video of like a Russian guy committing suicide. And it's really nothing to it. It's just like a video that went viral, I guess. Anyway, back to the Mario who doesn't know what he's talking about. Max Headroom is the last one on this tier, and he's basically like a TV character. Apparently the TV personality known as Max Headroom is an AI with the brain, I guess, of a journalist, Edison Carter, who went into a coma after a car crash. The name Max Headroom itself comes from the last thing he saw, a Max Headroom sign above a garage entryway. Like, you know, this is the clearance for this area, and then he died. Apparently, broadcasts have been hijacked in America. Oh, let me add, this is like a British thing. In America, broadcasts have been hijacked in Chicago, and this happened actually on 2 separate occasions on the same day. On both occasions, it was basically somebody wearing like a Max Headroom like mask, I guess. And there was like a trippy background and really distorted audio. And Max talked about Coke and Cola and some endorsements, some news figures, and then it ended with spanking his naked ass on TV, which is pretty funny. And that's all for tier 3. So with that, we have tiers 1, 2, and 3 down the drain. Now we just need to go through 4 to 8. Now I did kind of want to do this thing in like one big video, but this thing is already going to be one hell of a recording to upload, so I'm just going to leave it at that. All in all, stuff ahead looks super interesting. I've done a tiny bit of research, and it's weird. But like I said before, this is a new series on my channel. If you like it, let me know, and if you don't, then that's fine. I have been trying to like diversify my thing a bit because I like doing internet lore stuff, but I also like true crime a little bit, and I kind of want to talk about that. And then also icebergs are fun because it's kind of like a mix of both or neither, but it's a nice way to like have a long video. You can just kind of chill, relax, and I can like talk to you one-on-one. Anyway, that's really all I have for now. So yeah, I guess the next video I put out will most likely be the part 2 for this iceberg, or like something else that I'm hyper fixated on in the moment. But other than that, that's all I have, and I'll see you later.